Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. This is one of a couple of multiplayer games I've had recently. Well, I guess they're all multiplayer, but team games I've had recently that was a lot of fun. So we are on Bloody Ridge, playing it as a 3v3, which is as Eugen intended, which we don't always do that sort of thing. And I'm taking a somewhat greedy Entente deck. You can notice here I don't have a fob, which is a little bit of a faux pas on team games, I'll definitely say that. And I had meant to switch one in, but alas, I did not select the deck with that fob. So yeah, a little bit of not great situation there. Then we have Bloody and NSFW here, going for a little bit of an interesting opener into Elena. I really don't like the opener into Elena Ivan because, yeah, this is really common. So Daps versus Sokals, Chinooks coming in here, Lynx H7s behind, just helicopter land if there ever was one, quite often. And what's interesting too is that the Sokals all fired a little bit overkill at the same targets, and that made it a little bit difficult to really deal with the sheer number of Blue 4 helicopters going in right now. So yeah, Maneva M1T splashes a little bit of friendly fire there, but we take down that last Blue 4 helicopter on our side of the map, and then begins the town grind. So while that's going on, I've asked my friend NSFW here to go up and defend center, and then he and I are both spending most of our points in the middle in Fetter. So I've brought Double Neva M1T, of course one of the Entente specialty units, one of the reasons to play the deck even, I would go so far as to say. 60% accuracy, relatively long range, it's shorter than some versus planes, but no radar, which is very nice. Now a little bit of a miscommunication, Boris and, well, we have two CVs here, one from me, one from Bloody, and Boris. Just a mistaken bit of pings there, so always make sure that your communication is on point for CV locations. I'm moving mine over to center now. So while that gets underway, here is the meat of the fighting. Triple SBS, Royal Marines, more Royal Marines, Rangers. You don't see Royal Marines all that often, but they're not a bad unit. They're a good unit. They're just usually edged out in 1v1, but team games, anything goes, and so where you can take Royal Marines, they can do some great work. Now, going up against Formosa, probably not the best thing for Royal Marines, but yeah, this is not really looking that great for us right now, especially with the triple SBS. And then, on the other hand, in the middle, we've had a fair amount of success. So one thing you can notice here, Maple83, great player by the way, very nice person as well, was playing over in Ivan Elena and is doing very well there, but really NSFW and I had the initiative here, at least at the beginning, in the middle of the map, and so we'll explain some of this later on. There's a reason that I was posting this one other than it just being a ton of fun during the game, but yeah, we'll take a look at why that is later on. And you can see that Ligma here is the majority of the front line, and Sesqui, I'm not going to try and do that whole thing every single time, but Sesquipedalian, Sesqui there has not a lot of units actually on the front lines. There's, I think that was maybe his double HC, but that's just that and a Cobra. The rest of it is from Ligma. And so NSFW and I are spreading out. We're getting forward. We have Pruskonichi here for spotting. We have double T72M1 mod. I, of course, have double M91A, the Grand Pappy Vihor here, 170 points. Amazing accuracy, good AP, and of course 10 RPM is very, very nice. Yeah, Sesqui's HCs, but not a lot of chaff in front of them. And here you can see the benefits of two different strategies. So the Rifleman quad stacks have been getting sort of stunned in groups and killed, and meanwhile the Yekari here from NSFW are spread out, they're moving forward, they're a little bit more difficult to kill all at once, and are a bit more of an effective screen for that. So if you're doing this sort of team game, try to do this. It's a little bit of a micro tax, but really, I promise you, if you can pull it off, it will definitely help quite a lot compared to the quad stacks moving up. And some of that too is just a little bit of knowing to do it. Now, here's one thing. Yeah, didn't see this coming, and just wait, it gets worse. That's an MI-17 buy for Dimitri with command infantry, and these are, of course, Stinger carriers. So right as Sesqui gets his DAP around the side and we don't have base defense here, I buy a CV in a helicopter, and then what happens next is actually really pretty brutal. So there's a Cobra, there's an M1A2, there's double M91A Vihor, and I was moving it up, and then I see the alert for that MI-17 dying. I look back here, I see the DAP in base, I'm freaking out about this, pinging my teammates, and then right as that happens, there's a longbow. And honestly, this was, I don't think it was intentional timing from the other team, but holy cow, that was brutal. So I actually lose one of the big boy Vihors and a CV infantry at the same time. Very much a bad situation, very much flipping the momentum on its head, because in the middle we did have a lot of momentum. Now, Maple83, if you're watching this, another quick comment here. I think you definitely had the initiative in Ivan Elena and waited too long almost. So this triple SBS, yeah, they're only on 4 strength. It would have been really nice to have these reinforcements arriving a bit earlier, and then maybe to have... I don't even know if the double 1 Mark II was really that necessary here, because the initiative right now is being gained in the town fight, and securing that town fight early can make the mid to late game in Elena rely much more on tanks. So, I don't know, I think if it's just one player over here, the double Charlie 1 Mark II, this is of course 230 points, might have actually cost you a little bit. If you keep just one, have a little bit more, push up into this woods line, but now with recon, with some other supporting elements there, that would have been brutal because we didn't really have much of anything. There's nothing here, but you don't know there's nothing here because there's no optics. So it's a little bit of a rough situation there, I guess, for both teams. And this is actually a great time to point out how Blue 4 has been playing, because that longbow just killed a super heavy. There's an M1A2 Abrams here from Ligma, there's double HC from Sesqui that's just been sitting there, and there's artillery coming in. And it turns out, if we take a look at Sesqui's units here, by the way, Maple, you're about to clear out all the Commandosi again, there's just nothing back here. Sesqui's units, let's look. So he's doing the Gregory defense, and that's a perfectly fine thing. But then there's double HC Abrams, and other than that, it's all backline. So there's a Paladin, another Paladin by, there's an ATACMS, there's double fob, there's a longbow, a DAP, all this sort of stuff here, and of course the sneak around the side. And this is actively detracting from their team, and that's a little bit weird to think about because those backline units are really, really good. But I made this mistake recently in a team game as well, just overbuying backline stuff, and even if you get up on kills with it, if you don't have the units there to capitalize, it's a little bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, right? So the ATACMS is going to be really brutal here. Well, maybe not this exact shot, but yeah, it's horrible, horrible pressure, especially on Bloody Ridge, I'd say, because there are a couple of high probability locations. For example, this section of woods, usually a lot of stuff there. There's usually a lot of armor sort of in here, in this back line, in sometimes this forward line, especially, I mean, you see double T72M1 mod right here, right? Going after that M1A2, nearly able to get it, but nice withdraw. And yeah, I mean, just a good player with an ATACMS can get so many kills on Bloody Ridge. It's really just a little bit absurd almost how well that can work for you. So in the meantime, we've got some ATGMs coming up. We're getting some more resupply, which probably didn't need quite at that moment, but I was anticipating running out here, needing to go back all the way to the fob and come back up, and of course that's double the time of calling in another one and having it run up as well. And of course I do want to resupply things like this Conkers, and that's sort of the reasoning behind that particular buy. And then I'm rotating. So in response to how hollowed out Elena has been, the failure to recapture this town here, I'm going to be starting to buy some points there. But Maple 83's advantage, I mean, look at this. This is just, it's so much. And there's SBS, there's Royal Marines, there's SAS, there's Green Jackets. Now there are those supporting elements that would allow just, I mean, what can we do to stop this? Right? This was such an opportunity. It was crazy to look at it in the replay because I was sitting there going, okay, so how did we actually hold here? Because this looked like the trading went really poorly, and it did. But I think what held people back was fear of the unknown, and that's a big thing. Don't underestimate that either. Like, this is not a game with perfect map knowledge on either side. There's a fog of war that's pretty damn deadly, and here that fog of war is the only reason we still have Elena. And if you think about it, you know, if Elena's being pushed completely and NSFW and I had to switch earlier, then that makes Feder less locked down. Because right now, Feder is pretty locked down. We have a lot of chaff up here. There's still, of course, I mean, there's Naito 90 there. There's the double M1 mod. There's even double Neva M1T back here for anti-plane. My M91A is up here. We have a lot of not only zoning, but a lot of... Oh, jeez. Blow up my resupply, why don't you? We have a lot of supporting elements as well. So Humvee CP going up, we did spot that from Sesqui Battalion, so just try and take this track if you can. Otherwise it usually will get spotted if your opponent's that far up in the middle. And right there we do spot the double Challenger Challenger 1 Mark II. So at this point the thought process was, let's get a cap, and NSFW is doing that right here. We want to start ticking +2 if we can, just, I mean, it's going to go down to +1 as soon as Ivan's capped. But we have the zone, let's make use of that zone, because this is Conquest, and so we do want to make sure that we have the points while we have that zone. And if we get pushed back but we have tick, that can be a winning situation as well, just because it's sort of like a take and hold strategy, and with me rotating in, with 2 players still potentially playing in Cheriton Fetter, that was a strong consideration. But again, 10 minutes in, and it hasn't really felt like the pressure from 2 players here, because still Ligma is the one that's providing most of the front line. There's more backline buys, there's so many paladins shooting in. There is, of course, the threat of that longbow, but it really is just a little bit of a different thing. So Challenger 1 Mark II getting booped here by Conqueror's M, and I don't think we get it. Actually, did we? Oh, this will be brutal. No, okay. And yeah, that was well deserved to not land that hit because this thing was not spotted, but it is now. So I think this one follows it in. Just be aware when you shoot. I mean, yeah. Oh, last shot from the Conqueror's M takes out that 115-point tank. That sort of stuff can be pretty brutal in how the game swings back. So here I had a bit of an idea. I thought, well, let's smoke off their fire support, see if I can get some recon up into this ridge. As it turns out, there's too much back there to do that, but honestly worth a try. If I could have gotten up there, turned off my guns, and just given us vision, then we can use our advantage in middle to leverage this section of trees and to put fire support on this section of the town, and that's another angle for retake, which could have been very nice. Not crazy, not, you know, necessarily a game-winning thing right there, but quite nice. So our fobs are unfortunately being targeted by Sesquipedalian with those double paladins, and yeah, I mean, it's really hard to avoid that, especially, you might think that base defense would be easier in team games, but people who want to snipe your fobs will figure out ways to snipe your fobs. It's very, very hard to avoid that, just because you don't need vision for all that long. You see the fob, and the fob can't move. So a couple of paladins and you'll take it out. So we're starting to lose fobs, unfortunately, here as the game goes on, and now Ligma is making a move here, and this is good. This is really good. So M1A2s, and there's a bunch of infantry and chaff here. The M13A3 is actually pretty good for this with 3 frontal armor. Rifleman 90, maybe not the best choice though, and this is something, I don't know, I don't play US a lot, and I understand the desire for the AT4, especially considering they've seen big tanks here, but unfortunately, the second smoke came in, we pre-sighted this, so we should have some mortars firing in. Yeah, and then the MLRS here from NSFW is just, yeah, I mean, that sort of thing. The Rock 91 is brutal. We had enough time to aim and fire that whole thing, by the way, so this entire push is going to be stunned, is going to be having some trouble, and some nice plane support from both of my allies there. I think we actually took out one of the M1A2s, if memory serves. A little bit difficult to see during the game, but I think we did. Definitely think we did. So, yeah, I mean, that push. So now what happens there, though, is that... Oh, man, double BN. I think this gets the other one. Let's take a look. Yep. Yeah, there goes an M1A2. That's rough. So with that support lost, now there's 15-point lines that are going up against a mob of reservists with fire support. So ordinarily, these riflemen would be enough to get through these mobs of Zalaznichi, definitely. Definitely. And you can see that in action as they're just, you know, they're not taking a lot of losses despite the riflemen being right there, but now is where we get those mortars firing and the riflemen are going to be having a really hard time. This was brutal though. Double Challenger 2, Maple 83, nice rotation, and look at this Vihor. Boom, boom, gone. Yeah, brutal stuff. Very, very brutal stuff. This was a really nice rotation, because actually, this is not a line that you think of most often, right? So there's this little section of a downslope, and nice and clear line of sight. So I didn't even think to guard against it. Maple really just caught me with my pants down there, which is unfortunate. I've lost both of my supers, but, well, that's okay. I take Modernas in this deck as well. This is meant for team games, not 1v1s, so, well, kind of. No fob. So fortunately I do have the Modernas I can use, as well as the baby Vihors at 130 points. The Moderna I did kind of want to try out. Just, it's not my favorite tank in the world, but the autocannon can be very nice, especially when this thing up-bets, which it can do, I don't know, not amazingly quickly, but decently quickly. 160 points, it will up-bet a little bit quicker than most supers. So, T55A taken out, and here comes the pressure from Maple 83 that could have been there maybe 10 minutes ago, or certainly at least 7 or 8 minutes ago, but it's there now, and this is a crisis point. We're getting pushed back in Feder, we're getting pushed back in Elena, there's a lot of stuff coming in here. Royal Marines, of course, very expensive. Fusiliers 90, very expensive. Spartan, not so much, to be honest, 15 points, but it's recon, and it has a gun, and so that's good enough. But yeah, here, I mean, this has been really, really pretty brutal. The Rifleman 90 killed by Zalaznichi in a single T55A. Another thing I'd say too, in team games it can often feel like the micro isn't as important, but this T-55 should be dead. It's gone up against something like 3 or 4 different units of Rifleman and Rifleman 90, and better micro on those AT-4s kills the T-55, keeps a lot of those units alive. So that could have been a definite change. And then on this side, I think artillery's killed one of my Nevas. It's unfortunate. And of course Hawk Pip 3s, and this is the thing, like, that's not even... So we said Sesqui was buying a lot of backline stuff, but that's not even Sesqui's, that's Ligma's, and Sesqui has finally bought an M1A2. But, you know, I don't know. Early pressure matters a lot. It's a lot harder to get into a position 15 minutes in than it is in the first 5 minutes, assuming the trading doesn't go completely horribly, right? But, I mean, if there was a way to take a position every single time, we wouldn't play Wargame, because it's a solved game at that point. So, a little bit of randomness, shall we say, is to be expected. On this side, we have an H1J Cobra getting a little bit brave, and a little bit too brave there as it gets taken out, and that sort of thing. That gambit can work, and if you kill the CV infantry, or even just identify it, it can be really brutal. But now we have a Plowman coming up, we have, of course, constant pressure from that ROC 91 from NSFW, and the artillery on our side. I think it's interesting when you see stuff like this. Like, the Paladins and ATACMS are precision. Very much precision. Even with the ATACMS cluster, it's a precision artillery piece because the area of effect is so small. And meanwhile, like the Plowman, it's a small area of effect. It's a small dispersion as far as MLRS go, but it's still a pretty wide sort of thing. And then the ROC 91, of course, is an Uragan, and that is a pretty wide area of effects. And we're just stunning everything. You know, it's fine. We don't need to necessarily kill it right off the bat. We just make it combat ineffective and go from there. And like BVPs will shred Riflemen in the open. We have enough chaff here. And this might have been a little bit... I mean, the Yakari are maybe a tad too far forward. I don't really see the point of this because we don't really have recon here that's too effective. And yeah, I mean, it's killing the Riflemen. It's holding this position. But to expose the mod and the Swarty like that when we know there's a longbow around... I don't know, that longbow, it'll come back, I promise you that much. So that's maybe why I'm thinking about it. But this is really bad. So we've lost the forward in the top left of Elena, and this is where I think I pinged Bloody and I said, hey, this is not something we can really afford to lose. I'm going to rotate fully now. I had rotated partially before, we're going to rotate fully. We need to deal with those Chieftain Mark IIs, we need to deal with infantry here, and unfortunately that means that not one, but 2 longbows here. One from each of the USA players, which is just terrifying in team games, honestly. This is just scary shit. We'll have to wait, because if we lose this, we lose the zone. Not now, but in 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, we will lose that. So, 1, 2 Modernas are going to be coming up this way. We've got some more infantry from Bloody, and we were talking in comms, and I just said, look, just keep buying Moat Shoots and 90, retake this position, I'll provide the tanks, I'll provide the punch, you give me the men. And that's sort of exactly what happened here. So Bloody and I working together pretty well there, I'd say. And I mean, some familiarity with your teammates definitely is a bonus in this game, especially as team games can often live or die off of a little bit of coordination. So we have a Plowman coming in here, trying to stun and panic any and all reinforcements that might be in that section. I think we actually do, yep, oh man. Exploding Logi trucks are a unique sight in this game. It's certainly a fun thing to watch from time to time. So, yeah, did I lose my... No, there they are. Double Modernas, Chieftain Mark IIs. And this is a little bit of a risk as well. So if there was an ATGM right here, I'd be exposing side right as I come up this way. It's not the end of the world because this patch of trees can actually protect you. So this is not the most dangerous route. It's also not the safest, and that's certainly something that's... if I could do it again, I'd probably have a bit of smoke as well, but... You know, I think I was trying to smoke on this side to protect from the longbow and protect that reinforcing lane. But Modernas will chew through Chieftain Mark IIs just like it's nobody's business. So we go in there, we mop those up, I turn around, we're going to come up this way, look for these Chieftain Mark IIs as Maple was looking for those side shots. But, you know, that's not what's on the order today. What's on the order today right now are a couple of Modernas living their best life. So we get those kills, SPWs moving forward now to take any sort of retaliatory fire or infantry high AT. And, well, we've resecured this section. So now my Modernas can either stay here or they can rotate, and they should rotate soon because, I mean, Over time, we've been losing this position. There's less here in this tree line than there was before. There's more enemy pressure from tanks like the HC, which do fight pretty well. And my ally, unfortunately, has lost both of the Twardys over in this section. I think we can find the corpses here right... Yeah, one right there. The other one should be right next to it. Because that was an ATACMS shot. And that ATACMS shot killed both the 155-point Twardys. It's just insane return on investment there. Very nice shot from the Blue 4 team. So, here it comes again. Same push. Third time, more riflemen. This time, at least it's not Rifleman 90. I think they also sort of figured out, hey, that's a nice way to throw away an additional 20 points that don't need to be thrown away there. But yeah, we still have the time, right? So we know where it's coming in. The Rock 91 is, of course, going to stun and panic and damage everything. We can't see it off of this perspective, but I just want you to see these guys stunned, panicked, largely useless. And it didn't even have to be a direct hit. And the second there are direct hits, that's the Plumman coming in, by the way, to finish, to follow that up. And that's going to be a big problem. But speaking of, single M1 mod, double M1A2, double longbow. This was terrifying. And the second those longbows come into view, we're backing up. But these guys are fire and forget, and they're flipping fast. So, yeah, I mean, at this point I honestly thought we were going to lose the entire section. But luckily, ITO 90s are busted units, and we don't quite. The first double MiG-23BN, by the way, was really, really effective. This one, I think... also quite good, but maybe a little bit less so. The blind cluster bombers are always a little bit of a risk. Sometimes they get return, but that doesn't necessarily make them the best idea every time, because here, some of the tanks retreated out this way, some of the tanks retreated out this way, and so that cluster was a little bit of a swing and a miss, and of course, both of those planes did not get out. So that is, it's a big investment, and we no longer have those tools, right? So this game... part of what I love about this game, part of what I love about team games in Wargame Red Dragon is just, you know, decisions like that. You can feel them 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, when that tool isn't available and you really, really, really wanted it to be. Yeah, it's just... this game is the definition of a choice 20 minutes ago can make or break. And, I mean, we're seeing that in action right now from Blue, because we had enough time to recover here, which was not a guarantee. So this was a pretty good situation for us, not because of initial trading, but because of a decision that somebody who couldn't see what we didn't have in our zone thought we had more than we did. And I guess the only thing I can really conclude there with that is just try to... I mean, this is part of why aggression can often be a very good thing. Sometimes it can be something that just... it punishes you if you're over aggressive, and that's definitely a problem. But too much passivity can also throw you the game in the other direction. So really try to identify those opportunities, use them as best you can, and then don't push your V4 up alone when you know there's double Challenger 2 up there, because that's not a good idea either. Luckily I was able to just barely get out, but not a guarantee. Very much not a guarantee. And I don't know what it was, but Blue really wanted this section of forest so badly, it's insane. But Cart and Yekuri are busted good, and so even one of them against double riflemen here will do decently well, and honestly at this point I think they might have even benefited from just throwing the HCs down this lane. So every helicopter that's come close we have killed. There was a Cobra as well that recently died to an ITO 90. There's now a second ITO 90 here, but this one I'm accidentally smoking it off. So I was trying to provide cover for the mod and the Modernos, and in so doing this ITO 90 no longer has a line of sight toward anything. And that doesn't necessarily make the smoke a bad thing here. It makes it, unfortunately, yeah, that's the longbow. One dead. Second missiles fire at the mod. And, you know, if that second volley hadn't come off, we could have survived this, but, I mean, just look at the value train on this. It's a pave as well. It's just gone. Bam. Dead. And, you know, should the smoke have been there? Hard to say. It definitely did some... well, it could have done some good in protecting our tanks in traditional engagements, but as it was, that ITO 90, that was the cornerstone of our anti-longbow defense, and my smoke made it useless. Right? So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Was that smoke just a horrible idea, should never have been there? Was it something where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's understandable, because a lot of mistakes are sort of based in a good idea, based in good intention, and then just only a little bit not well executed enough. to work out. And actually, yeah, I guess both of them had gotten out before, but yeah, both BNs go down there. And this was the second point where I was sitting there going, okay, it'll be a miracle if we can get through this game alive. So I actually buy a Super Gallop, and I'm throwing away a plane here, and I'll show you exactly why. 5 and 2, right? You think I get a kill? Nope. 1 and 2. Yeah, 22 front, man. 30 AP, 4 damage. It's like, oh man, I so thought I was going to get at least one of the M1A2s, and we needed that to relieve pressure. And yeah, I mean, they're going to be pulled back. They're not that useful right now, but I mean, Blue 4 is resupplying actively while in combat that far forward, and is finally making their way into the section of trees. Now, I do have Proletariat 90 with the Kartanyekri, with the Zalaznichi. We're going to have a very nice time trading against a single group of riflemen, but we are 2 bunched up, and if there was any... I guess another thing, I would have liked to have seen those paladins from Blue prepare this position for their push. Because one thing that we've seen from my team, from the Red 4 team, is every time they come in here, we arty the hell out of it. But every time they're coming in, they don't soften up this position, and double paladin can definitely deal with a lot of the infantry here before those Blue 4 infantry get in. And that could make a very big difference in the long run. So, you know, if we lose some Proletariat 90, if we lose some Kartanyekri, if the only thing we can staff this section of woods with is Zalaznichi, then that's going to be an issue. Instead, we have double HC Abrams here, but it's not got the most protection. It's running into, of course, it did kill both the Proletariat 90, but this is where things go a little bit unexpectedly, I think, for Blue. I think this is where they were hoping to finally get that that tick advantage, and actually the decap center. Our CV was spotted by something off in those hills and then killed, so, you know, not exactly the best for us. But this is where I decide, you know what, I'm tired of dealing with this lane, I'm tired of dealing with the repeated pushes here. I've got Zalaznichi, I've got my allies Kartanyekri, we're going to take these double Vihors and deal with those HC Abrams that I think are still somewhere around here. So, you know, not entirely certain about that, but I thought they were, and then we're also going to have some nice coordination punishing the Challenger 1 Mark III. So one of those is dead, 145 points, Plowman right on time. So both those HCs are stunned by my Plowman, and my Vihors are fine. So we're going to come in, of course, panicked HCs retreating versus 2 M91s advancing. 1-2. I think that was a kill. Wasn't that a kill? I thought I got both of those out of there. Let's take a look. No. Oh, why would you re-engage? Okay, don't re-engage like that. It's not going to work out well for you once you've taken that 1-2 punch from other tanks as well. And I think maybe it was with the Challenger 2s, that was sort of the intention. But here actually we get one of them off the pave, and the second one barely gets out. So I was really hoping to get it with the Vihor, but oh, so close. So close. Of course I do lose an AN, but actually, is that another plane? Huh. Didn't notice that in-game. Kind of explains a lot. Yeah. And with that, we fended off the, what, 4th attack in here? Here comes the 5th, just more and more pressure. And, I mean, this is the sort of pressure that at the beginning of the game I think would have completely retaken this section if both players from Blue had their units in the fight, but they didn't. And now we have HAs. HAs, of course, are not quite as good as the HCs. My M91s, admittedly, like, this is 18 front versus 20 front, right? 22 AP versus 20. But 2-to-1 at close range, we're both going to scale to 30 AP, and so the guns actually are equivalent, because that close range, they both punch for max damage. It's a little bit of a weird thing, but the closer in you are, the more equivalent tanks' guns become. A little goofy. So, Sava cleaning some stuff up there. T-55A is Vidyach, and we do get a recap going on center that'll cut off the Blue 4 +1 tick, and my Proletariat 90 are enough barely here to hold that forward section of woods yet again. So, you know, we've cleared this out, we've just been, this has been the tale of 30 minutes of denying the Blue 4 push into 2 different locations, one here in Olena, one here. And that is entirely because of how far forward we got in the middle in the beginning of the game. So, I don't know, I have bad luck on Bloody Ridge. I think when I was way newer, when I had, you know, 300, maybe 350 total games in Wargame, every time I played Bloody Ridge I lost. Every single time. It did not matter. It did not matter what team I was on. I threw it for my team. I had zero clue how to play this map, and so it's been an interesting experience. I still don't win as often as I'd like on Bloody Ridge, but particularly when I'm playing in the center zone here, I do feel a lot more comfortable than I used to, and you can kind of see that in some of the tank play, at least not well, when I'm not getting longbowed. And you'll see more of that here in the last couple minutes of the game. And because I do feel like it's becoming a bit of a meme on my channel, I am just going to say, goodness gracious, we have a lot of tank combat coming up. So there's a reason this one's called Tank Brawl. If you do like this sort of thing, if you do like my channel and want to grow, you know, last year we had a couple months of just really fantastic growth, and this year it's been a little hard to get, in part because I've been posting less, in part because sometimes, you know, sometimes life is hell, and so I recently quit my job for a very good reason, and then recently accepted a different job offer. It's been a big amount of change, so if you do want to help me out, just leave a like, share, subscribe, all that YouTuber nonsense. That's, you know what? It's just part of the gig, right? It's sort of baked into the cake. So, Double Vihor approaching against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 HA and HC Abrams. What the hell am I thinking? Yeah, not great. But I wanted to get eyes on that Humvee CP. I wanted us to not let that out for free, and so I was hoping to come up here and punch the Humvee CP and get back, and it turns out that didn't exactly work, but I do have a lot of resupply in the area with those KPIs, and more, I think. Ooh, no. Did I get killed? Oh, there it is. There's the Kolos coming forward. I thought I already had some on the way. This is a really good thing to do if you are intending to take a tank engagement. Just preemptively get some resupply, and yeah, I'm resupplying the Plowman with it, but I can just rotate it up, or I think I was moving back here to my allies' KPIs. So, you know, that did work pretty well. Then Proletary 90, 1, 2, 3 of them, chomping on some tanks in the woods, and, you know, I almost wonder, it feels like a lot of the time, oh, don't do this, no, bad juju. Alright, so we do have a surrender from Ligma over there on blue, and the other two do fight it out. This game is not yet over. There's about 5.5 minutes left in this, and more action yet to come, but I feel like I've seen a lot of people just driving tanks into the woods lately. I don't quite know why that is. Please stop. Don't do this to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. Yeah, oof. Nice aggressive planes. Well, at least they didn't get out for free. This, by the way, is a little bit of a dick move. So, most people will have auto-fire at supply or logistics turned off. So you can do with those resupply Chinooks is just fly them in, and then because anti-air won't shoot unless it's clicked on, oftentimes you can get them to spot better for you than even recon helicopters because they won't get shot down. So we had to manually click on those. It's a little bit of a dick move. I don't appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's part of the game, but should it be, I guess, is the question. There's no perfect system, there's no perfect way to design it. So, double M1A2, double Challenger 1 Mark III from Maple 83, who does now have to rotate over into Feder as his other teammate is gone. There's just two of them now. Ivan has crumpled. We finally won that town fight, finally broke them here over on the right-hand side of the map. And this is the last bid to get in from the Blue 4 team. So double M1A2, double Charlie 1 Mark III. And the Charlie 1 Mark IIIs are very, very, very scary. But I have now triple Baby Vihor right here and a Moderna. And we're getting chaff forward. We have some Mechanizavana and BVP. We have some other stuff on the way. And here it is. Plowman. Everything here is going to be panicked, shaken, stunned, very unhappy in the open there. And it's, again, it's a little bit too grouped up. So now we're going to go up and... Ooh. Wait, hey. Micro your tanks. I don't know who this Black Knight guy is, but he needs to micro his tanks. Oof. Come on. Oh no, longbow. Man, you know, I play this game, I guess it was on the 19th, it's a little bit ago now, but I thought I went forward, and then I find myself retreating. Yeah, okay. ITO 90's out of ammunition, that explains it. Yeah. So, we do have a blue ball of death here coming in from Maple 83. We find a Command Abrams, but there's actually two CVs in this zone. One the Abrams, the other one a Jeep, I think it was right about there. And Cart and Yakety can't deal with even a Command M1 that's kind of goofy. So everything that went into Ivan pretty much died. Yeah, we needed a tank in there. But such is life. So it goes, and with one shot and... Ooh, come on. Two shots, longbow goes down, and now we should be able to actually go up and engage. The triple Vihor, Moderna here, another Plowman Valley. This is probably the one that I was remembering because everything here still, again, is just stunned, panicked, very unhappy. The Plowman is a really, really good unit. Actually, I think it's the biggest thing that Entente Mech loses is access to the Plowman, and there's even a Warrior coming in, and you can't understand why this is going in right now, right? So there's 5-6 minutes left. They're down 77 points to 321. They need, I think they need even a +3 at this point, which realistically is not that likely. It's probably why the Lieutenant Colonel surrendered. It's because, you know, it really isn't all that likely. But you know what? We're here for it. We're going to take these fights with the Vihor, we're going to take these fights with the Moderna, Charlie 1 Mark 3, Challenger Mark 2, Warrior Milan even coming in, and it's just too much firepower in one place. So we have even the T-55A, is Vidyach coming up, Modernos, all of this stuff. This is your late game tank balls, right? Because it's 130 points each, 390 points there. That's nearly 4 minutes worth of income in just those 3 tanks. And then finally we do have some anti-tank punch here, dealing with these HA Abrams, not with the bombs though. And I don't know, like, oh yeah, here it is. I think this engagement right here in the last couple minutes was part of why I really wanted to cast this, because look at the smoke, and look at the smoke on this side, and then we'll see how this develops, because this smoke is there to mask both tanks and the CV, and I think that CV does park up here later, or maybe we've already killed it, but it's interesting because this is the case where having that chaff ahead of it would have allowed that Challenger 2 and the smoke to be really effective. That Challenger 2 dunks on my Vihors at max range, but instead, because there's no chaff here, because we do have control of the tree line, my M91s can advance, and they're going to advance while taking out those Warrior Milans. These guys are not cheap, 25 points apiece. And then I'm using his smoke to zone out his ranged options, because ATGMs back here can't shoot at me. And I'm even going to be running into it because, well, his planes also can't hit me from there. We don't have any longbows left on the field. People don't tend to artillery their own smoke. And so with this tab here, I know there's nothing right there. I'm using it to scout out this section, and we finally do make contact. That's why the paladin C90 are going forward, and the Vihor staying behind. Now I'm using my enemy's smoke to go up and deal with this Challenger close range. And like I said earlier, close range decreases the differences between these different tanks. Paladin C steal that kill, but the triple M91 would have been about to get it with 1 or 2 more shots. And I mean, invading your opponent's smoke to get that sort of thing, just, it was really satisfying. It was, you can't always rely on that, of course, better to have your own smoke, but it was definitely a satisfying way to end this match. So that's all I've got for you guys today. We're going to take a quick look at the kills and losses, just to double down on an earlier point. 9,450, 9,450 kills for blue, 9,225 losses for blue. They were up on trading, and even more up on trading until the end. So in that last 5 minutes, I think we killed something like 600 or 700 points, and yeah, threw away some planes, but blue had some very nice pressure in terms of, well, actually they had really bad pressure. They had nice kills, but not good pressure in the mid-game, and that allowed us to hold a position and hold it long enough. So 348 to 77, that does win the game. So that's all we got for you guys today. I have another really fun team game, actually maybe even 2 that I want to go through. There's one that's a 2v2, and then I got another 3v3 as well. That should go up soon, plus a replay review for a player by the name of Pugfather, who I played on Highway to Seoul, should be coming up soon as well, and we'll catch you guys around.